The war room fell silent when the transmission came through. General Vexron of the Caltharian Empire stared at the holographic display with his three eyes wide open. His scaled hands gripped the edge of the command table so hard that his claws left marks in the metal. "Sir, we have incoming communication from the human vessel," the communications officer said. Her voice shook slightly. "Put it through," Vexron ordered. He had fought in 73 battles across 40 systems. He had conquered 12 worlds. He had never felt fear before. But something about this moment made his blood run cold. The hologram flickered. Then a simple text message appeared in the center of the room. Just 3 words and a number. Bhatti 180, active. Around the table, the 5 other generals from different alien races looked at each other. Most of them did not understand. They had joined the coalition only months ago. They did not know the stories. They did not know the history. But Vexron knew. His grandfather had told him the tales when he was young. Tales that Vexron thought were just legends meant to scare children. Tales about the humans and their terrible weapons. Tales about Bhatti 180. "What does it mean?" asked General Throx, an insect-like being from the hive worlds. His mandibles clicked nervously. Vexron did not answer right away. He was too busy trying to remember how to breathe. His hearts were beating fast, too fast. He could feel the pressure building in his chest. "General Vexron, what is Bhatti 180? Throx asked again, louder this time. The Caltharian general finally looked up. His face had lost its usual purple color. Now it was pale, almost white. "It means we have made a terrible mistake," Vexron whispered. "It means we should never have attacked the human colony." The battle had started 3 days ago. The coalition forces had surrounded the small human settlement on the planet Kepler 442b. It was just a mining colony. Only 50,000 humans lived there. The coalition had brought 200 warships. It should have been an easy victory. The humans had no military base on that world. They had only a few security officers and some old defense satellites. The coalition commanders thought it would take less than a day to make them surrender. They would take the humans as prisoners and use them as bargaining chips to make Earth give up more territory. But the humans did not surrender. They fought back with everything they had. Their civilian ships attacked the coalition fleet. Their miners used drilling equipment as weapons. Even their children helped build defenses. The coalition lost 12 ships in the first day. 30 more were damaged. The generals were angry. How could these weak humans cause so much trouble? They decided to teach the humans a lesson. They began bombing the colony from orbit. That was when everything changed. That was when Earth sent the message. That was when Bhatti 180 woke up. "Someone explain this to me now," shouted General Kraith, a reptilian commander from the Soros Dominion. "What is Bhatti 180? Is it a weapon? Is it a ship? What are we facing?" Vexron sat down slowly. His legs felt weak. Around him, the other Caltharian officers were whispering to each other. They knew the stories too. Some of them were already backing away from the command table, as if distance could save them. Bhatti stands for Biological Human Augmented Tactical Thinking Interface, Vexron said quietly. "It is not a weapon. It is not a ship. It is a human." The other generals looked confused. Throx's antennae twitched in what might have been amusement. "One human?" he said. "You are afraid of one human?" "Not just any human," Vexron replied. "Bhatti 180 is a human who has been enhanced, changed, made into something more than human. The Earth military only activates the Bhatti units when they face total war, when they are willing to do anything to win." He pulled up old files on the hologram, records from 70 years ago, records from the first contact war between humans and the Vrin collective. The other generals leaned forward to read. The Vrin were powerful, Vexron continued. They had conquered half of their galaxy. They had weapons that could destroy stars. They thought humans would be easy prey. They attacked 3 human colonies without warning. They killed millions. The hologram showed images of destroyed cities, burned planets, dead humans floating in space. Earth declared total war. They activated 5 Bhatti units. Within 6 months, the Vryn Collective no longer existed. Their homeworld was gone. Their fleet was scattered. Their empire fell apart. The 5 Bhatti units did all of that. General Kraith laughed. It was a harsh, croaking sound. Impossible. 5 beings cannot destroy an empire. You are trying to scare us with children's stories. Vexron turned to look at him. Bhatti 042 destroyed a moon by crashing an asteroid into it. That moon was home to 3 billion Vryn. Bhatti 067 hacked into the Vryn Central Computer Network and turned their own weapons against them. Bhatti 123 created a virus that killed their crops and starved their armies. Bhatti 156 infiltrated their high command and assassinated their emperor. Bhatti 099 led a fleet that burned their shipyards. The room had gone very quiet. Even Kraith stopped laughing. "And what about Bhatti 180? Asked Throx softly. Vexron closed his eyes. Bhatti 180 never saw combat. The war ended before Earth needed to use it. Nobody knows what it can do. Nobody knows what special abilities it has. But Earth saved it. They kept it in reserve. They kept it for something important. And now they have sent it here," whispered one of the Caltharian officers. "They have sent it for us." The communications console beeped again. Another message was coming through. Every general in the room turned to look at the hologram. A new image appeared. It was a human face. The human looked young, maybe 30 years old in Earth years. It had dark skin and darker eyes. It wore a simple gray uniform with no decorations, no medals, no rank insignia, nothing to show that this was the most dangerous being in the sector. When it spoke, its voice was calm, too calm, like someone discussing the weather, like someone ordering food at a restaurant. There was no anger, no hatred, no emotion at all. "Coalition forces," the human said. "This is Bhatti 180. You have attacked a human colony. You have killed 3,000 civilians. You have broken 17 interstellar laws and violated 4 peace treaties. I am here to deliver justice." Vexron found that he could not look away from those dark eyes. They seemed to look right through him, right into his soul. "You have 2 choices," Bhatti 180 continued. "Choice 1, surrender immediately. Leave this system, face trial for your war crimes. Choice 2, continue fighting. Face me. Face what I will do to you." The hologram paused. Bhatti 180's face did not change expression, not even a little bit. "You have 1 hour to decide. If you do not surrender, I will consider that you have chosen option 2. I will show you why humans are called the most dangerous species in the galaxy. I will show you why the Bhatti units were created. I will show you what happens when you hurt our people." The transmission ended. The hologram disappeared. The war room was completely silent now. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Some of the generals had stopped breathing. Vexron looked around at his fellow commanders. He saw fear in their eyes, the same fear he felt. They all understood now. They had made a terrible mistake. They had poked a sleeping giant. They had awakened something that should have stayed asleep. "What do we do?" Throx asked. His voice was barely a whisper. Vexron thought about his options. He thought about his family back home. He thought about his crew. He thought about the 200 ships under his command and the thousands of soldiers aboard them. Then he thought about Bhatti 180. He thought about what one human could do, what one enhanced human with all the resources of Earth behind it could accomplish. He thought about the Vryn Collective, how they had been so powerful, how they had been so confident, how they had ceased to exist in just 6 months. General Vexron of the Caltharian Empire, veteran of 73 battles, conqueror of 12 worlds, made his decision. His hands shook as he reached for the communications controls. General Kraith slammed his fist on the command table before Vexron could speak. "No," the reptilian commander growled. "We will not surrender to one human. This is ridiculous. We have 200 warships. We have the finest soldiers from 6 different empires. We will not run away because of scary stories." Vexron turned to face him. "You do not understand what we are dealing with." "I understand perfectly," Kraith shot back. "I understand that you are a coward, the great Caltharian Empire, afraid of one creature. Your ancestors would be ashamed." Several other generals nodded in agreement. They were younger commanders, eager to prove themselves. They had not lived through the Vryn War. They had not seen what humans could do when they were truly angry. "We came here to conquer," said General Mora, a tall humanoid from the Zentari Federation. "We came here to expand our territories. If we run away now, we will look weak. Every other species will think they can push us around." Vexron felt his temper rising. These fools. These absolute fools. They were going to get everyone killed because of their pride. "Listen to me carefully," he said, his voice sharp. "The Bhatti units are not like anything you have ever faced. They are not just soldiers. They are not just warriors. They are weapons that think, Western that plan, weapons that never stop until their mission is complete." "Then we will destroy this weapon," Kraith replied. "We will shoot it down before it even gets close to our fleet." Vexron laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "You think it is that simple? You think Bhatti 180 is just flying toward us in a ship, waiting to be shot? The Bhatti units are masters of strategy. They are experts in every form of combat. They know how to use terrain, how to manipulate enemies, how to turn our own strengths into weaknesses." He pulled up more files on the hologram. Battle reports from the Vryn War. The other generals crowded around to see. "Bhatti 042 did not just crash an asteroid into a moon," Vexron explained. "It spent 3 weeks setting up the perfect trajectory. It used gravity wells from 4 different planets. It made the Vryn think the asteroid was going to miss. They ignored it. They thought their shields would be enough. They were wrong. The images showed the moment of impact, the moon breaking apart, billions dying in seconds. Bhatti 067 did not just hack computers," Vexron continued. "It created a virus so smart that it learned and evolved. It spread through every Vryn system in days. It turned their automated factories against them. It made their medical equipment kill patients. It crashed their ships in the middle of battles." More images. Vryn warships exploding, cities going dark, chaos spreading across an entire empire. "And you think we can just shoot Bhatti 180? Vexron asked quietly. "You think it has not already planned for that? You think it does not already know every weakness in our fleet, every flaw in our tactics?" The room was quiet again. Some of the generals looked uncertain now, but Kraith still looked angry. "I do not care about your stories," the reptilian general said. "I do not care about the Vryn. They were weak. We are strong. We will prove that humans are not as dangerous as everyone thinks." Vexron realized he was not going to convince them. These generals had made up their minds. They would rather fight than admit they were wrong. They would rather die than look like cowards. "Fine," Vexron said. "Then I am withdrawing my forces from this battle. The Caltharian ships will leave this system immediately." "You cannot do that," Mora shouted. "We have an agreement. We have a coalition. You cannot just leave." "Watch me," Vexron replied coldly. He turned to his officers. "Send orders to all Caltharian vessels. Full retreat, maximum speed. Do not stop until we are 3 systems away." His communications officer hesitated. "Sir, the other coalition members will see this as betrayal. They will report us to the council. There will be consequences." "Better to face political consequences than face Bhatti 180, Vexron said firmly. "Send the order, now." The officer obeyed. Within minutes, the 50 Caltharian ships began pulling away from the planet. They broke formation and activated their faster-than-light drives. Soon they were gone, leaving only 150 coalition ships behind. General Kraith watched them go with disgust on his face. "Cowards," he muttered. "Fine, we do not need them. We are more than enough to handle one human." He turned to the remaining commanders. "We will show these Caltharians what real warriors can do. We will capture this Bhatti 180 and send its body back to Earth as a message. Humans are not the only dangerous species in the galaxy." The other generals agreed. They began making plans. They would set up ambush points around the planet. They would use their sensor networks to track any approaching ships. They would deploy their best fighters and their most powerful weapons. When Bhatti 180 arrived, they would be ready. "How much time do we have left?" Kraith asked. 43 minutes until the deadline," replied the sensor officer. "Good. Plenty of time. All ships, battle stations. I want every weapon charged and every scanner at maximum sensitivity. The moment we detect any human ship, we blast it into atoms." The coalition fleet moved into position. The warships formed defensive spheres around the planet. Fighter craft launched and began patrol routes. Automated defense platforms activated their targeting systems. It looked impressive. It looked unbeatable. On the surface of Kepler 442b, the human colonists watched from their shelters. They had been hiding underground for 3 days. They had lost friends and family to the orbital bombardment. They were tired and scared and angry. But now they had hope. Bhatti 180 was coming. Earth had not forgotten them. Earth had sent help. A young girl named Sarah sat with her mother in the mining shelter. She was only 8 years old. She had never seen war before. She did not understand why the aliens wanted to hurt them. "Mom, what is a Bhatti?" she asked. Her mother hugged her tight. "It is someone who will keep us safe, sweetheart. Someone who will make the bad aliens go away." "Is it a soldier?" "Sort of, but much more than that. Bhatti 180 is one of Earth's greatest protectors." Sarah thought about this. "Will they hurt the aliens?" Her mother paused before answering. She wanted to say no. She wanted to tell her daughter that everything would be peaceful. But she could not lie. Not about this. "Yes, honey. Bhatti 180 will probably hurt the aliens very badly, because that is what happens when you hurt humans. We protect our own." High above the planet, the coalition generals waited. The minutes ticked by slowly. 30 minutes left. 20. 10. "Any contacts?" Kraith asked. "Nothing, sir," the sensor officer reported. "No ships detected anywhere in the system. Space is empty." "Keep scanning. It has to come from somewhere." 5 minutes left. 3. 1. The deadline passed. Nothing happened. Space remained empty. No human ships appeared. No warnings came. Nothing. Kraith frowned. "Is this some kind of trick? Where is it?" "Still nothing on sensors, sir." "Maybe the human got scared and ran away," suggested General Throx. Some of the other commanders laughed nervously. Then the lights went out. Every single ship in the coalition fleet went dark at the same moment. Engines stopped. Life support shut down. Weapons powered off. Even the emergency systems failed. In the sudden silence, the generals heard only their own breathing. And then they heard something else. A voice, coming through every speaker on every ship. The same calm, emotionless voice from before. "Choice 2 then," said Bhatti 180. "You have chosen unwisely." The lights came back on, but something was different. The holographic displays were showing strange images now, not tactical readouts or sensor data. Instead, they showed the inside of other ships in the fleet. "That is my ship," General Mora gasped. The hologram showed her bridge. Her crew members were running around in panic, trying to figure out what was happening. Other displays showed other ships. The generals could see their own forces in chaos. They could see their soldiers confused and frightened. "How did it get into our systems?" Kraith demanded. "Our computers are secured. They have the best encryption in the galaxy." Bhatti 180's voice answered him. Your encryption is based on Zentari military code from 15 years ago. It took me 7 minutes to break it. I have been inside your networks since before I contacted you. I have been watching everything, learning everything. The displays changed again. Now they showed personnel files, crew manifests, ship schematics, weapon specifications, everything. Bhatti 180 had access to all of it. I know where every ship is positioned, the voice continued. I know what weapons you have. I know your tactics and your strategies. I know which commanders are brave and which are cowards. I know everything about you, and you know nothing about me. General Kraith felt something he had not felt in years. True, deep fear. The kind that made his scales stand up and his blood run cold. What do you want? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. I want you to leave, Bhatti 180 replied simply. I want you to take your ships and never come back. I want you to tell everyone what happened here. I want every species in the galaxy to know what happens when you attack human colonies. And if we refuse? There was a long pause. Then Bhatti 180 spoke again, and for the first time there was emotion in its voice. Not anger, not hatred, something worse, certainty. Then I will show you why they built us. General Kraith made his decision in an instant. He would not be threatened. He would not back down. He was a warrior of the Soros Dominion. His people had never surrendered to anyone. All ships, open fire on the planet, he ordered. If this human wants to protect the colony so badly, let us see what happens when we destroy everything it came to save. But nothing happened. The weapons did not fire. The targeting systems did not respond. Sir, we have no control over our weapons, the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. Something has locked us out of our own systems. Override it. Use manual controls. Manual controls are not responding either, sir. We are completely locked out. On the hologram, Bhatti 180's face appeared again. Those dark, calm eyes stared at Kraith. You tried to kill more civilians, the human said quietly. You have made another bad choice. I gave you a chance. You wasted it. Now I will show you what happens next. One of the coalition ships suddenly exploded. It was a cruiser from the Zentari Federation, nearly a kilometer long, carrying 3,000 crew members. It tore apart from the inside, pieces of metal and flame spreading out into space. What happened? General Mora screamed. What did you do? I overloaded your reactor core, Bhatti 180 explained in that same calm voice. It was simple. Your safety systems are poorly designed. I changed a few numbers in your computer. The core went critical, 3,000 dead in 5 seconds. Another ship exploded, then another, each one torn apart by its own power systems, each one destroyed by their own technology turned against them. The generals watched in horror as their fleet began to die. Ships that had survived dozens of battles, that had conquered entire worlds, were now being destroyed without firing a single shot. The enemy was invisible. The enemy was everywhere. The enemy was inside their own computers. Stop this, Kraith roared. Stop this now. No, Bhatti 180 replied. You wanted to fight, so we fight, but we fight my way. 6 more ships exploded simultaneously. The fleet was in complete chaos now. Captains were ordering evacuations. Escape pods launched from dying vessels. Smaller craft broke formation and tried to run, but there was nowhere to run to. Bhatti 180 had control of everything. Please, General Throx begged. His mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. Please, stop. We surrender. We surrender. The explosion stopped. The fleet was still alive, but barely. Out of 150 ships, 23 were now debris fields. Nearly 40,000 coalition soldiers were dead. And Bhatti 180 had done it all without even being seen. You surrender now, the human said. After 23 ships, after 40,000 deaths, you should have surrendered 1 hour ago when I gave you the choice. We surrender, Throx repeated desperately. Please, no more killing. We will leave. We will go back to our homes. We will never attack humans again. Will you? Bhatti 180 asked. Or will you wait a few years and try again? Will you attack another colony? Will you think that maybe you can win if you just have better computers or stronger encryption? The generals did not answer. They knew the human was right. Some of them were already thinking about revenge, already planning how they could come back stronger. I thought so, Bhatti 180 said. That is why I cannot let you just leave. You need to understand. You need to truly understand what humans are capable of. You need to be so scared that you will never even think about attacking us again. What are you going to do? Mora asked in a whisper. I am going to give you a demonstration. I am going to show you what the Bhatti units were designed for. Watch your sensors. The Coalition sensor officers checked their displays. They saw something impossible, something that made no sense. Sir, one of them reported to General Kraith, we are detecting a ship, but it was not there a second ago. It just appeared. Where? Kraith demanded. Right in the middle of our fleet, between the third and fourth defensive layers. That was impossible. No ship could just appear like that. Ships needed to drop out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of a system and then fly normally to their destination. They could not just materialize in the middle of a fleet. But there it was, a small ship, barely 20 meters long. It looked old and battered, like a civilian cargo hauler. Nothing threatening, nothing dangerous. That cannot be right, Mora said. Our sensors must be malfunctioning. Your sensors are working perfectly, Bhatti 180's voice replied. That is my ship. I have been here the whole time. I was hiding in your sensor blind spots. I moved when you moved. I stayed invisible by staying close to your own vessels. You were protecting me with your own fleet and did not even know it. The generals felt cold dread spreading through their bodies. Bhatti 180 had been with them all along, right there among their ships, close enough to touch, and they had not seen it. Not once. Now watch what I can do when I am not just playing with computers, the human said. The small ship moved. It was fast. Faster than anything that size should be able to move. It shot toward the nearest Coalition cruiser, a massive warship bristling with weapons and armor. Shoot it down, Kraith ordered. All nearby vessels, destroy that ship. The Coalition ships tried to fire. Some of them managed to get their weapons working. Missiles launched, energy beams cut through space. But Bhatti 180's ship was not where they aimed. It dodged every attack with impossible precision, moving in ways that should have torn a normal ship apart with the force of acceleration. The small ship reached the cruiser. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the cruiser's entire port side erupted in explosions. The massive warship began to spin out of control, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. How? Throx asked. How did it do that? It did not fire any weapons. We would have seen weapons fire. I planted bombs on your ship 3 hours ago, Bhatti 180 explained. While you were busy planning your ambush, I sent a stealth drone to attach explosive charges to 12 of your largest vessels. I have been waiting for the right moment to use them. More explosions ripped through the fleet. The 12 ships that had been rigged with bombs all began to die at once. Some broke apart completely, others lost power and drifted helplessly. The Coalition was losing more ships every minute, and they still had not managed to land a single hit on Bhatti 180. General Mora was crying now. Tears ran down her face as she watched her fleet being destroyed. We are going to die, she whispered. We are all going to die. Bhatti 180's ship stopped moving. It floated there in space, surrounded by the burning wrecks of Coalition warships. The generals could see it clearly now on their displays. Just one small old ship, one human inside it. That was all it took to destroy their mighty fleet. You are not going to die, the human said. Not all of you. I am going to let most of you live, because I need you to go home. I need you to tell everyone what happened here. I need you to spread the word. What word? Kraith asked bitterly. That humans are not prey. That human colonies are not targets. That when you attack us, we will come for you. We will find you, and we will show you exactly why we are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Bhatti 180's ship began to move again, but this time it was not attacking. It was positioning itself between the Coalition fleet and the planet. You have one last choice, the human continued. You can try to fight me. You can try to destroy the colony. You can keep trying to win this battle. Or you can leave right now. You can take your surviving ships and go home. You can tell your leaders that attacking humans was a mistake. You can make sure this never happens again. The fleet was less than half its original size now. Nearly 70 ships were gone. Thousands of soldiers were dead. The survivors were terrified and broken. General Throx spoke first. We are leaving. My ships will withdraw immediately. I swear on the Hive that we will never attack humans again. Same here, Mora added quickly. The Zentari Federation wants no more war with Earth. One by one, the other generals agreed. Even Kraith, proud and stubborn Kraith, finally accepted defeat. We will leave, he said quietly. We will go. But know this, human. You have made enemies today. Maybe not us. Maybe we are too scared to face you again. But there are others in the galaxy. Bigger empires, stronger armies. Someday they will test you. Someday they will see if humans are really as dangerous as you claim. Bhatti 180 was quiet for a moment. Then the human spoke, and there might have been the smallest hint of sadness in that calm voice. I know, it said. I know there will always be someone who does not believe. Someone who thinks they can win. That is why Bhatti units exist. That is why there are 180 of us. That is why Earth keeps building more. Because no matter how many times we prove how dangerous we are, someone always wants to test us again. The Coalition ships began to leave. They turned away from the planet and activated their faster-than-light drives. One by one, they disappeared into the darkness of space. Soon, only a handful remained, moving slowly as they collected survivors from the destroyed vessels. General Kraith's ship was one of the last to go. Before he left, he took one final look at Bhatti 180's small ship on his display. What are you really? He asked. Are you still human, or have you become something else? Bhatti 180 did not answer right away. When it finally spoke, the voice sounded tired, more tired than anything Kraith had ever heard. I do not know anymore, the human said softly. I have forgotten what it feels like to be normal. I have forgotten what it is like to not see threats everywhere. I have forgotten how to sleep without planning battles in my dreams. Maybe I am still human. Maybe I am something else. Does it matter? Kraith thought about that. Then he nodded slowly, even though he knew the human could not see him. Perhaps it does not, he replied. Goodbye, Bhatti 180. I hope we never meet again. So do I, General. So do I. The last Coalition ship jumped away. The battle was over. Bhatti 180 had won without losing a single life on the human side. The colony was safe. The enemy was defeated. But there was no celebration, no joy, just silence in the floating wreckage of 70 warships. Bhatti 180 watched the last enemy ship disappear from the sensors. The battle was over. The colony was safe. But the work was not finished. There was never a moment when the work was truly finished. The ship descended toward the planet Kepler 442b. Below, the human colonists were emerging from their shelters. They had been hiding underground for 3 days, listening to the sounds of war above them. Now they could finally come out. Now they could see the sky again. As the ship approached the main settlement, Bhatti 180 could see the damage the orbital bombardment had caused. 3 residential buildings were completely destroyed. The medical center was half collapsed. The mining operations were in ruins. And there were bodies. Too many bodies. The ship landed in the central square. It was the same square where children used to play, where families gathered on holidays, where people met to share news and stories. Now it was covered in dust and debris. The hatch opened and Bhatti 180 stepped out. The colonists had gathered to see their savior. They expected a hero. They expected someone tall and strong and impressive. Someone who looked like they could single-handedly defeat a fleet. Instead, they saw an ordinary-looking human, average height, simple gray uniform, dark eyes that looked tired, so very tired. For a moment, nobody moved. Then a little girl broke free from her mother's grip and ran forward. It was Sarah, the 8-year-old who had asked what a Bhatti was. She stopped a few feet away from Bhatti 180 and stared up with wide eyes. "Are you the one who saved us?" she asked. Bhatti 180 looked down at her. Something flickered in those dark eyes. Something that might have been pain, or regret, or just exhaustion. "Yes," the human replied quietly. "I am the one." Sarah smiled. It was a bright, genuine smile, the kind of smile that only children can make. "Thank you. The bad aliens killed my dad, but you made them go away." She hugged Bhatti 180 suddenly, wrapping her small arms around the human's waist. Bhatti 180 stood very still, as if unsure what to do. Then slowly, carefully, the human put one hand on the girl's head. "I am sorry about your father," Bhatti 180 said. The voice was still calm, still controlled, but there was something underneath it now. Something human. Sarah's mother came forward and gently pulled her daughter back. She looked at Bhatti 180 with grateful eyes. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Thank you for helping us. We thought Earth had forgotten about us. We are just a small mining colony. We are not important, but you came anyway." "No human colony is unimportant," Bhatti 180 replied. "Every human life matters. That is why we exist. That is what we were made for." The colony administrator, a man named Chen, pushed through the crowd. He was covered in dust and his arm was in a makeshift sling, but he stood straight and tried to look professional. "Bhatti 180, he said formally, "on behalf of Kepler 442b colony, I want to express our gratitude. You saved our lives. You protected our home. If there is anything we can do for you, anything at all, just ask." Bhatti 180 looked around at the destroyed buildings, at the tired, frightened people, at the bodies that were still being pulled from the rubble. "There is something you can do," the human said. "You can survive. You can rebuild. You can show the galaxy that humans do not give up, that we do not break, that we come back stronger every time someone tries to hurt us." Chen nodded slowly. "We will. I promise you. We will rebuild this colony better than before. We will honor those who died, and we will never forget what you did for us." Bhatti 180 turned back toward the ship. "I must return to Earth now. There will be reports to file, debriefings to attend, consequences to face." "Consequences?" Chen asked, confused. "But you won. You saved us. Why would there be consequences?" The human paused at the bottom of the ramp. "Because I killed nearly 50,000 coalition soldiers today. Because I destroyed 70 military vessels. Because I started what might become a larger war. Earth does not celebrate the Bhatti units, Administrator Chen. We are necessary, but we are not celebrated. We are the weapons that people prefer not to think about." Sarah's mother spoke up. "But you were protecting us. You were doing your job." "Yes," Bhatti 180 agreed, "but that does not make it easier. That does not make the deaths weigh any less. I will carry those 50,000 souls with me forever. They will join all the others I have killed in the name of protecting humanity." The crowd was quiet. They had not thought about it that way. They had only seen their savior, their protector. They had not thought about what it cost to be that protector, what it did to a person's soul. Bhatti 180 started up the ramp, then stopped and turned back one more time. "One more thing," the human said. "In 3 days, a fleet from Earth will arrive. Real military ships with soldiers and supplies. They will help you rebuild. They will also establish a permanent defense station in this system. No one will threaten you again." How do you know they will be here in 3 days? Chen asked. Because I sent the request 5 days ago, before I even arrived. I knew you would need help rebuilding. I knew you would need protection. Bhatti units always plan ahead. With that, Bhatti 180 walked up the ramp and disappeared into the ship. The hatch closed. The engines powered up. Within moments, the small vessel lifted off and shot into the sky, heading for the darkness of space. The colonists watched it go in silence. They felt grateful and sad at the same time. Grateful for their lives, sad for the lonely human who had saved them at such a terrible cost. Up in orbit, Bhatti 180 set course for Earth. It would be a long journey, weeks of travel through the void, weeks of silence and solitude. The human preferred it that way. It gave time to think, time to process, time to prepare for what came next. The ship's computer began its automatic report to Earth Command. Battle statistics, casualties, damage assessments. It was all very neat and organized, very professional. The numbers did not show the fear in the enemy general's eyes. They did not show Sarah's smile or her mother's tears. They just showed that the mission was successful. Objective achieved. Colony saved. Bhatti 180 sat in the pilot's chair and stared out at the stars. So many stars, so many worlds. And on how many of those worlds were people plotting against humanity? How many more battles would there be? How many more fleets would need to be destroyed? How many more times would the Bhatti units be activated? The human's enhanced mind could calculate probabilities, could predict futures, could see patterns that normal people missed. And every pattern, every calculation, every prediction came to the same conclusion. This was not over. This was never going to be over. As long as humans existed, there would be others who wanted to hurt them, wanted to conquer them, wanted to test them. And as long as that was true, the Bhatti units would be needed. Bhatti 180 closed its eyes and tried to remember what it had been like before. Before the augmentations, before the enhancements, before becoming something more than human. There had been a name once, a real name, not just a designation number. There had been a family, friends, a normal life with normal dreams. But that was all gone now, locked away in memories that felt like they belonged to someone else, someone who had died a long time ago. The person who became Bhatti 180 had volunteered for this, had chosen to give up everything to protect humanity, had known what it would cost. But knowing something and living it were two very different things. A message came through from Earth Command. It was marked urgent. Bhatti 180 opened it and read the text. Bhatti 180, this is General Williams, Earth Defense Command. Your mission report has been received. Well done on protecting the colony. However, we have a problem. 3 major alien empires have filed formal complaints about your actions. They are calling it excessive force. They say you could have resolved the situation without destroying so many ships. They are demanding that you be put on trial for war crimes. We need you to return to Earth immediately for debriefing and possibly a hearing. This is not optional. Williams out. Bhatti 180 read the message twice. War crimes. They were calling it war crimes. The human had saved 3,000 colonists, had stopped an invasion, had protected Earth's citizens. And now some aliens who had never been in combat, who had never faced impossible choices, wanted to put the human on trial. But that was fine. Bhatti 180 had expected something like this. There were always consequences, always prices to pay, always people who did not understand what it took to keep humanity safe. The ship continued through space, heading toward Earth, heading toward questions and accusations and judgments. Bhatti 180 was not worried about the hearing. The facts would speak for themselves. The coalition had attacked first, had killed civilians, had refused to surrender. Bhatti 180 had acted appropriately given the circumstances. But the hearing was not really the point. The point was that some aliens wanted to make an example, wanted to show that humans could not just destroy fleets without consequences, wanted to prove that even the Bhatti units could be held accountable. Let them try, Bhatti 180 thought. Let them ask their questions. Let them make their accusations. It would not change anything. It would not bring back the dead coalition soldiers. It would not make Bhatti 180 any less of what it was: a weapon, a protector, a necessary evil. The journey continued, day after day in the darkness. Bhatti 180 did not sleep much, did not need to sleep much. The augmentations had changed that too. Instead, the humans spent the time reviewing the battle, looking for mistakes, finding ways to improve, planning for the next time, because there would always be a next time. On the 5th day of travel, another message came through. This one was not from Earth Command. It was from the Caltharian Empire, from General Vexron, the one who had retreated before the battle even started. Bhatti 180, this is General Vexron. I do not know if you will read this message or if you will care, but I wanted to say something. You were right. Everything you did was right. I should have convinced the others to leave. I should have tried harder. If I had, maybe 40,000 soldiers would still be alive. I know you probably do not feel guilty about their deaths. You were just doing your job. But I feel guilty. I was supposed to be a leader. I was supposed to protect my people. Instead, I ran away and let them die. I just wanted you to know that not all of us blame you. Some of us understand. Some of us know that you did what you had to do. Vexron, out. Bhatti 180 stared at the message for a long time. Then the human did something unexpected, something that normal weapons did not do. Bhatti 180 cried. Earth appeared in the view screen like a blue jewel against the black of space. Bhatti 180 had seen this view hundreds of times. Every time felt different. Every time brought complicated feelings that the human tried not to examine too closely. Home. This was home. The place where humanity began. The place worth protecting. The place that built weapons like Bhatti 180 and then pretended they did not exist except when they were needed. The ship received docking clearance for Defense Station Olympus, the massive orbital platform that served as headquarters for Earth's military operations. Bhatti 180 guided the small vessel into the docking bay and powered down the systems. A security team was waiting when the hatch opened. 6 soldiers in full armor, weapons ready. They were not pointing the weapons at Bhatti 180, but they were not exactly relaxed either. The human understood. To them, Bhatti 180 was something to be careful around, something dangerous that might explode at any moment. Bhatti 180, the team leader said formally, welcome back to Earth. General Williams is waiting for you in Conference Room 7. Please follow us. The walk through the station was quiet. Other soldiers and staff members stopped what they were doing to stare. Some looked at Bhatti 180 with respect, others with fear, a few with something that might have been pity. Nobody spoke directly to the human. Nobody ever did unless they had to. Conference Room 7 was large and cold. The walls were bare metal. The table was simple plastic. There were no decorations, no windows, no personal touches. It was a room designed for difficult conversations, for decisions that nobody wanted to make. General Williams was already there. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been a soldier for 40 years. She had commanded fleets. She had fought in 3 wars. She knew what combat cost, what victory required. Sit down, she said, gesturing to a chair across from her. Bhatti 180 sat. The security team positioned themselves by the door. Williams studied the human for a long moment before speaking. You destroyed 73 warships, she said finally. You killed 47,000 coalition soldiers. You did it all in less than 2 hours. That is impressive. That is also terrifying. The colony is safe, Bhatti 180 replied calmly. The mission was successful. Yes, the colony is safe, but now we have 3 major empires demanding your head on a plate. They are calling you a war criminal. They are saying you used excessive force. They want you put on trial at the Galactic Court. Bhatti 180 showed no reaction. Will Earth comply with their demands? Williams leaned back in her chair. That depends. Tell me what happened. Your official report was very detailed about tactics and results, but it did not explain your thinking. Why did you do what you did? Why not just disable their ships? Why kill so many? Because they needed to understand, Bhatti 180 said. Because fear is the only language that some species understand. The coalition attacked us thinking we were weak, thinking we were easy targets. I needed to show them that they were wrong. I needed to make them so afraid that they would never attack another human colony. And you think killing 47,000 soldiers accomplished that? I know it did. General Vexron sent me a message. He understands now. The other generals who survive will tell their governments what happened. They will spread the word, and other species will think twice before testing us again. Williams was quiet for a moment. You are probably right. You probably did save lives in the long term, but that does not make the short-term deaths any easier to justify. 47,000 beings are dead. They had families. They had lives. They were following orders from their commanders. They were soldiers attacking a civilian target, Bhatti 180 said without emotion. They were bombing women and children. They had already killed 3,000 colonists. They refused to surrender when given the chance. What would you have had me do, General? Let them continue? Let them destroy the colony? No, Williams admitted. I would have done the same thing. Maybe not as efficiently as you, but I would have stopped them. That is not the point. The point is that the galaxy is watching us now. They are watching to see how Earth responds. If we defend you, some species will respect our strength. Others will see it as aggression. If we sacrifice you to political pressure, we look weak, but we might avoid a larger war. Bhatti 180 understood what Williams was really saying. The human was a problem now. A useful problem, but still a problem. Earth needed to decide if keeping Bhatti 180 was worth the political cost. What do you want me to say, General? The human asked. Do you want me to apologize for protecting our people? Do you want me to say I made a mistake? I will not. I did what I was designed to do, what you built me to do. You do not get to be angry about that now. Williams winced. That had struck a nerve. She had been part of the program that created the Bhatti units. She had approved the procedures that turned normal humans into enhanced weapons. She bore some responsibility for what Bhatti 180 had become. I am not angry, she said quietly. I am tired of wars, tired of death, tired of making impossible choices. But you are right. We made you. We turned you into what you are. We do not get to complain when you do your job. She pulled up a holographic display. It showed various alien species, leaders and ambassadors and politicians. These are the ones demanding your trial, Williams explained. The Zentari Federation, the Hive Worlds, and the Soros Dominion, 3 of the largest empires in this sector. Together they have over 300 inhabited worlds and more military power than Earth has faced since the Vryn War. Are they threatening us? Bhatti 180 asked. Not directly, but they are applying pressure. They want to use you as an example. They want to show that even Earth's most powerful weapons can be held accountable under galactic law. If we refuse to hand you over, they might form a new coalition, a bigger one, and then we would face a real war. Not just a skirmish over a colony, a full-scale conflict. Bhatti 180 thought about that, calculated probabilities, analyzed outcomes. The augmented mind worked through thousands of scenarios in seconds. You are going to give me to them, the human said. It was not a question. Williams looked pained. We are considering it. It would solve a lot of problems. It would prevent a war. It would show that Earth respects galactic law. It would satisfy the alien empires. And what would happen to me? The Galactic Court would hold a trial. You would have a chance to defend yourself, to explain your actions. Some species on the council are sympathetic to humans. You might be found not guilty, or you might face prison, or execution. We do not know. Bhatti 180 stood up. The security team tensed, but the human just walked to the window. Outside, Earth turned slowly below. Billions of humans living their lives, working, loving, fighting, dying, never knowing about the weapons that protected them, never thinking about the cost. I volunteered for this, Bhatti 180 said softly. I chose to become what I am. I knew there would be consequences. I knew I would make enemies. I knew I might die. That was always part of the deal. So you will cooperate? Williams asked. You will go to the trial? The human turned back to face her. No. Williams blinked in surprise. No? No, Bhatti 180 repeated firmly. I will not cooperate. I will not go to their trial. I will not let them use me to score political points. And I will not let Earth sacrifice me just to avoid difficult conversations. You do not have a choice, Williams said, her voice hardening. You are a soldier. You follow orders. I stopped being just a soldier when you made me into this, Bhatti 180 replied. The augmentations did not just make me smarter and faster. They made me see things more clearly. They made me understand what really matters. And what matters is protecting humans. Not politics, not diplomacy, not avoiding wars that might happen anyway. Protecting people. That is what I do. That is all I do. The security team was definitely tense now. Their fingers were near their triggers. Williams raised a hand to stop them from doing anything rash. What are you planning? She asked Bhatti 180. I am going to disappear, the human said simply. I am going to leave Earth and go somewhere the galactic empires cannot find me. I will stay away until this political situation calms down. And if it does not calm down, if they actually try to start a war over this, I will come back. I will fight. I will protect Earth like I always have. You are talking about desertion. I am talking about survival. If you hand me over to the galactic court, I will be executed. We both know that. They do not want a trial. They want a public execution to show that humans can be beaten. I will not give them that satisfaction. Williams stood up and faced Bhatti 180 directly. The two of them stared at each other. Two soldiers, two humans who had given everything to protect their species. If you run, every military unit in this sector will be looking for you, Williams said. Earth will declare you a rogue agent. You will have no support, no supplies, no backup. You will be completely alone. I am already alone, Bhatti 180 said quietly. I have been alone since the day you made me into this. Being officially labeled as rogue will not change anything. There was a long silence. The security team looked uncertain. They were loyal to Earth, but they also knew what Bhatti 180 had done, how the human had saved the colony. Some of them had families on frontier worlds, families that Bhatti 180 might save someday. Williams made her decision. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. She placed it on the table and slid it toward Bhatti 180. This chip contains access codes for 3 secure safe houses in neutral territory, she said quietly. It also has contact information for people who might help you. Supply caches, identities you can use, everything you need to disappear. Bhatti 180 looked at the chip, then at Williams. Why are you helping me? Because you were right, the general said. We made you. We do not get to throw you away when it becomes inconvenient. And because I think you are right about the trial, they would execute you. They would use your death to humiliate Earth. I cannot let that happen. The human picked up the chip. What will you tell the alien empires? I will tell them that you escaped, that we could not stop you, that we are searching for you but have no leads. It will damage Earth's reputation. They will think we cannot control our own weapons. But that is better than the alternatives. Williams turned to the security team. Everyone in this room signs a non-disclosure agreement. What happened here is classified at the highest level. If anyone asks, Bhatti 180 overpowered us and escaped. Understood? The team members nodded. They would keep the secret. They would lie for their general and for the human who saved colonies. Bhatti 180 walked toward the door. The security team parted to let the human pass. At the threshold, Bhatti 180 paused and looked back at Williams. "Thank you," the human said, "for understanding, for helping, for not forgetting what we were built to do." Williams nodded. "Stay safe, stay hidden, and if Earth really needs you, if there is a true threat to our people, I will send a signal. Codename Phoenix Rising. When you see that signal, come home. Come fight for us one more time." "I will," Bhatti 180 promised. "I will always come when you call. That is what we are for." The human left the conference room and walked through the station. Nobody tried to stop the exit. Nobody raised an alarm. Bhatti 180 reached the small ship, climbed aboard, and launched before anyone could change their mind. The ship flew away from Earth, away from the station, away from everything familiar, heading toward the unknown, toward a life of hiding and running, toward an uncertain future. But Bhatti 180 was not afraid. Fear was for people who had something to lose. The human had already lost everything that mattered. Now there was only the mission, only the purpose, only the endless task of protecting humanity no matter what it cost. Behind, General Williams watched the ship disappear from sensors. She felt sad and proud at the same time. Sad for what Bhatti 180 had become. Proud of what the human continued to be. "Safe travels," she whispered, "and thank you for your service." 3 months had passed since Bhatti 180 left Earth. 3 months of hiding in neutral space. 3 months of moving from system to system, never staying anywhere long enough to be tracked. 3 months of loneliness. The human had used one of the safe houses Williams provided. It was on a station called Haven's Rest, a massive commercial hub where thousands of different species came to trade. It was the perfect place to disappear. So many beings moving through every day that one human could easily blend in. Bhatti 180 had adopted a new identity, a merchant named Alex Chen who traded in rare minerals. The false identity came with complete documentation, financial records, and a believable history. Whoever had created it had done excellent work. The safe house itself was a small apartment on the lower levels of the station. It had basic furniture, a food processor, and communication equipment. Nothing fancy, nothing that would draw attention. Bhatti 180 spent most of the time there, monitoring galactic news feeds and staying alert for any signs of pursuit. The news had not been good. Earth and the alien empires were in tense negotiations. The empires were angry that Bhatti 180 had escaped. They were demanding that Earth do more to find the rogue agent. Some politicians on both sides were calling for sanctions. A few extremists were calling for war. But Williams had been right. Most species seemed to view Bhatti 180's escape as proof that Earth could not control its own weapons. They saw it as weakness rather than defiance. That was good. It meant the political situation might actually calm down eventually. Bhatti 180 tried to live a normal life, tried to be just another person on the station. Every morning the human went to the market to buy food. Every afternoon, the human sat in cafes and watched the crowds. Every evening, the human returned to the apartment and waited for nothing in particular. It should have been peaceful. It should have been a break from the stress of combat and missions and killing. But Bhatti 180 could not relax, could not stop thinking, could not turn off the part of the mind that was always calculating threats and planning responses. Every person who walked past might be an enemy. Every ship that docked might be hunting the human. Every message might be a trap. The augmentations that made Bhatti 180 such an effective weapon also made it impossible to truly rest. One day, while sitting in a cafe, Bhatti 180 noticed something interesting. A group of young aliens at a nearby table were talking loudly. They were students from various species, all studying at the station's university. They were arguing about something with the passion that only young people could manage. "Humans are dangerous," one of them said. It was a Zentari with blue skin and 4 arms. "Look at what happened at Kepler 442b. One human destroyed an entire fleet. That is not natural. That is not right." "But the coalition attacked first," argued another student. This one from a species Bhatti 180 did not recognize. "They killed civilians. They bombed a peaceful colony. The human was just defending its people." "By killing 47,000 soldiers?" the Zentari shot back. "That is not defense. That is slaughter. That is terrorism." A third student, a Caltharian with purple scales, spoke up quietly. "My uncle was there. He was part of General Vexron's fleet. He said they should have listened when the human gave them a chance to surrender. He said they brought it on themselves." "Your uncle is a coward," the Zentari said dismissively. "Vexron ran away before the battle even started. That is why his ship survived." The Caltharian's scales darkened with anger. "My uncle is not a coward. He is smart. He knew they could not win. He saved his crew's lives by retreating. That takes more courage than staying to die for nothing." Bhatti, 180, listened to this conversation while pretending to read a newsfeed. It was strange hearing people debate the human's actions. Strange knowing they were talking about something the human had done. Strange feeling like an outsider to events that had defined Bhatti 180's recent existence. The students continued arguing. More of them seemed to side with the Caltharian. They thought Bhatti 180 had been justified. They thought the coalition had made a mistake. But there were still plenty who believed the human was a monster, a weapon that should be destroyed. Eventually, the students left. Bhatti 180 remained at the cafe, thinking about their words. The human had never considered how regular people would view the battle, had never thought about becoming a subject of debate and discussion. It was uncomfortable, exposing, like being naked in public. That evening, back in the apartment, Bhatti 180 received an encrypted message. The code was one that Williams had provided, a secure channel that supposedly could not be traced. The human opened it carefully. "Bhatti 180, this is Agent Kara Okonkwo, Earth Intelligence Services. General Williams asked me to check on you periodically. I am contacting you now to let you know that the political situation is evolving. The alien empires are starting to lose interest in pursuing you. Other issues have taken priority. However, there is a complication. A bounty hunter named Zax the Relentless has taken a contract to find you. He is very good at what he does. Be careful. Stay alert. I will contact you again if I learn anything else. Okonkwo, out." Bhatti 180 read the message 3 times, then deleted it. A bounty hunter, of course. Someone would eventually try to collect whatever reward the empires were offering. The human needed to be more careful, needed to change locations, needed to stay ahead of anyone searching. But first, Bhatti 180 needed information about this Zax character. The human accessed the station's public information network and began searching. It did not take long to find what was needed. Zax the Relentless was infamous across multiple sectors. He was a Kryn, a species known for their tracking abilities and their stubbornness. Once they took a contract, they never gave up until the target was found or they died trying. Zax had successfully captured over 200 fugitives. His success rate was over 90%. He was also smart. He did not just chase targets, he studied them, learned their patterns, predicted their behavior. Then he set traps and waited for them to walk in. It was eerily similar to how Bhatti 180 operated. This was going to be interesting. Bhatti 180 spent the next few days preparing. The human set up false trails leading to other stations, created fake financial transactions, left digital breadcrumbs that suggested movement in completely wrong directions. Then the human packed essential supplies and prepared to move to a different safe house. On the fourth day, something happened that changed everything. Bhatti 180 was walking through the market when the human heard screaming. People were running, shouting, panicking. Years of training took over immediately. Bhatti 180 moved toward the source of the commotion instead of away from it. That was what weapons did. They moved toward danger, not from it. In the central plaza, there was chaos. A group of armed beings were holding hostages. They had plasma rifles and energy shields. They wore uniforms that marked them as members of the Red Claw Syndicate, a criminal organization that operated throughout the sector. "Everyone stay calm," the leader shouted. He was a large reptilian creature with scarred skin. "We are just here for the station's emergency funds. Nobody needs to get hurt if you all cooperate." But someone did not cooperate. A young Hive Worlds worker tried to run. One of the criminals shot him in the back. The worker fell, smoke rising from the wound. He did not get up. The crowd gasped. Some people screamed. The criminals laughed. They enjoyed the fear, enjoyed the power. Bhatti 180 watched from the edge of the plaza, calculated angles, counted enemies, assessed weapons. There were 12 criminals. They had taken 15 hostages. Station security was nowhere to be seen, probably dealing with some distraction the criminals had created elsewhere. The smart thing would be to walk away, to let station security handle it eventually, to not risk exposure. Bhatti 180 was supposed to be hiding, supposed to be invisible. Getting involved in this would be foolish, but the young worker was still lying on the ground, still bleeding, still dying, and nobody was helping him. Bhatti 180 made a decision. Maybe not a smart decision, maybe not a logical decision, but the right decision. The human moved, fast, faster than normal humans could move. The augmentations made Bhatti 180 blur across the plaza. Before the criminals could react, the human had reached the nearest one. One strike to the throat. The criminal dropped his weapon and fell, gasping for air. Bhatti 180 caught the rifle before it hit the ground. 2 shots, 2 more criminals down. Headshots, clean, efficient, deadly. Now the others noticed. They turned their weapons toward Bhatti 180, but the human was already moving again, rolling behind a market stall, coming up on a different angle. 3 more shots, 3 more bodies. The leader roared in anger. "Kill that human! Kill it now!" His remaining crew opened fire. Energy bolts tore through the market. Stalls exploded. Merchandise burned. The hostages screamed and tried to scatter. Some of them made it to safety. Others were not fast enough. Bhatti 180 felt rage building, not the cold, calculated combat mindset. Real anger. These criminals were shooting at innocent people. They were willing to kill bystanders just to get at one target. That was unacceptable. The humans stopped hiding, stopped being careful. Bhatti 180 walked out into the open, rifle firing precisely. Each shot found a target. Each shot ended a threat. The criminals tried to return fire, but they were panicking now. Their shots went wild. Within 30 seconds, it was over. All 12 criminals were down. Most were dead. A few were wounded badly enough that they would not be fighting anymore. The hostages were free. Bhatti 180 walked to the young worker who had been shot, knelt beside him. The worker was still alive, but barely. The wound was bad. Without medical help, soon he would die. "Help is coming," Bhatti 180 said quietly. "Stay still. Save your strength." The worker's compound eyes focused on the human. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for saving us." Station security finally arrived. They came running with weapons drawn. When they saw the scene, they stopped in confusion. 12 criminals neutralized, 15 hostages safe, and 1 human kneeling beside a wounded worker. The security chief was a grizzled Soros who looked like he had seen everything, but even he seemed surprised by what had happened. "Who are you?" he asked Bhatti 180. The human stood up slowly, placing the rifle on the ground. "Just a merchant who happened to be here. Alex Chen, I have identification." The security chief studied Bhatti 180 carefully. He clearly did not believe the merchant story. Nobody moved like that. Nobody shot like that. Nobody took down 12 armed criminals without getting a scratch. This was someone with military training, serious military training. But the chief was also smart enough not to ask too many questions. Someone had just saved his station from a major incident. Someone had protected civilians. He could fill out paperwork that said a merchant named Alex Chen had acted in self-defense. That would be simpler than digging into secrets that might be dangerous to know. "Thank you, Mr. Chen," he said finally. "The station owes you a debt. We will need you to give a statement, but that is just a formality. You clearly acted to protect others." Bhatti 180 nodded. "I will provide whatever information you need." As the security team took over the scene and medical personnel rushed to help the wounded, Bhatti 180 stood quietly. The human had just done something foolish, something that could have exposed the truth, something that might lead bounty hunters right to this location. But looking at the saved hostages, at the grateful faces, at the young worker being carried away on a stretcher, Bhatti 180 did not regret it. This was why the human existed. Not to hide, not to run, but to protect, even if it meant taking risks, even if it meant exposure. That night, in the safe house, Bhatti 180 packed everything. It was time to move to a different location. The incident would be reported. News would spread. Someone might connect the merchant who fought like a special forces operator with the missing Bhatti unit that Earth was supposedly hunting. But before leaving, the human checked one more time on the young worker's condition. The station hospital reported that he would survive. The wound had been serious, but the medical team had saved his life. One life, out of billions in the galaxy, just one life that would have been lost if Bhatti 180 had walked away. It should not have mattered. In the grand scheme of things, one individual life was statistically insignificant. But to that worker, to his family, to his friends, it was everything. And somehow, in a way the human could not quite explain, it mattered to Bhatti 180 too. Bhatti 180 had moved to the second safe house. This one was on a mining station orbiting a dead moon. It was smaller than Haven's Rest, less crowded, more isolated, perfect for someone who needed to disappear. The station was called Rust Harbor, and the name fit perfectly. Everything was old and worn. The corridors smelled of metal and oil. The people who lived there were rough types, miners and smugglers and people who did not ask questions. It was not comfortable, but it was safe. The apartment here was even smaller than the last one. Just one room with a bed, a table, and a tiny bathroom. But it had good security systems and 3 different escape routes. That was all Bhatti 180 needed. 2 weeks passed quietly. The human established a new routine, worked odd jobs to maintain the cover identity, kept monitoring news feeds for any signs of pursuit, waited for the next contact from Agent Okonkwo. The message came on a Thursday afternoon, Earth time. Bhatti 180 still thought in Earth time, even though it did not really matter anymore. Old habits were hard to break. "Bhatti 180, this is Okonkwo. I have good news and bad news. Good news. The political situation is definitely calming down. The empires have mostly moved on to other concerns. Bad news. Zax the Relentless is getting close. He tracked your movements to Haven's Rest. He knows about the market incident. He is putting pieces together. I estimate you have maybe 2 weeks before he finds your current location. Consider moving again soon. Also, I am attaching a file about Zax. It might help you stay ahead of him. Good luck. Okonkwo, out." Bhatti 180 opened the file. It contained detailed information about Zax, his methods, his previous captures, his weaknesses. Okonkwo was thorough. She had done excellent research. Zax was a tracker, but he was also a thinker. He did not just follow trails. He got inside his targets' heads. He tried to understand how they thought, what they valued, what patterns they followed. Then he predicted where they would go next. The file included psychological profiles of several fugitives Zax had captured. Bhatti 180 studied them carefully. Most of the targets had made similar mistakes. They had routines. They had comfort zones. They went to places that felt familiar. Zax had learned those patterns and used them to set his traps. Bhatti 180 would need to be unpredictable, would need to break any patterns, would need to do things that made no sense. That was difficult for someone with an augmented mind designed to optimize and calculate, but it was necessary. The humans started by doing random things, took random routes through the station, ate at different places at different times, changed sleeping schedules, made purchases that had no logical purpose, created chaos in the data trail that anyone following would see. But Bhatti 180 also did something else, something that would surprise a tracker like Zax. The human started helping people. There was an old Caltharian woman who ran a small shop selling handmade items. She was struggling to pay her rent. Bhatti 180 bought several expensive pieces and left large tips. Did not give a name, just helped and walked away. There was a young couple who had just had their first child. They could not afford proper medical care. Bhatti 180 anonymously paid their hospital bills. There was a group of orphans living in the lower levels. Bhatti 180 left food and supplies outside their shelter every few days. These actions made no tactical sense. They did not help the human hide. They actually created more of a trail. But they were the opposite of what a fugitive normally did. And they felt right. They felt human. After 3 weeks on Rust Harbor, something unexpected happened. Bhatti 180 was walking through the docking area when the human saw a familiar face on a view screen. It was a news report about Haven's Rest. The young Hive Worlds worker who had been shot was being interviewed. "I owe my life to a stranger," he was saying. His wounds had healed well. He looked healthy and happy. "A human merchant saved me and 15 other people. I do not know who they were. They disappeared before I could thank them properly. But I want them to know that I am grateful, that my family is grateful, that I will never forget what they did." The reporter asked about the human's identity. The worker shook his head. Station security would not release their name. They said it was for privacy reasons. "But whoever you are, wherever you are, thank you. You are a hero." Bhatti 180 watched the report in silence. A hero. The human had been called many things: weapon, killer, monster, protector, but hero was new. It felt strange, uncomfortable, wrong somehow. Heroes were supposed to be good people who made noble choices. Bhatti 180 was just a weapon that occasionally made decisions based on old memories of being human. There was nothing heroic about that. But the worker's smile was genuine. His gratitude was real. Maybe it did not matter what Bhatti 180 was. Maybe it only mattered what the human did. The choice to help, the choice to protect, the choice to value one life enough to risk exposure. That evening, another encrypted message arrived, but this one was not from Okonkwo. The code was different, older. It took Bhatti 180 a moment to recognize it. The message was from another Bhatti unit, Bhatti 067, the hacker who had destroyed the Vrin computer networks during the war. Bhatti 180 had never met 067, but all the Bhatti units knew about each other. They were siblings in a way, created by the same program, enhanced by the same procedures, shaped by the same purpose. 180, this is 067. I heard you went rogue. Smart move. Earth was going to throw you to the wolves. I have been in hiding myself for 5 years now. Got tired of being a weapon and decided to be a person instead. Been living quiet on the edges of civilization. Thought you might want some advice. First rule, do not trust anyone completely, not even Earth intelligence. Second rule, stay away from populated areas when possible. Third rule, find something to care about besides the mission. That last one is the hardest, but also the most important. You need a reason to keep going that is not about fighting. Otherwise, you will burn out. Trust me, I know. If you ever need help, use the attached code. I will respond when I can. Good luck out there. You are not as alone as you think. 067 out. Bhatti 180 stared at the message for a long time. Another Bhatti unit had gone rogue 5 years ago, was living in hiding, was trying to be a person. The human had never considered that possibility, had always assumed that Bhatti units either died in combat or kept serving until they broke down. But 067 had found another way, had found a life beyond being a weapon, had found something to care about besides the endless cycle of missions and killing and protecting. Find something to care about. That was the advice. But what could a weapon care about? What mattered to someone who had given up being fully human? Bhatti 180 thought about the old Caltharian woman, about the young couple with their baby, about the orphans in the lower levels, about the worker who had called the human a hero. These were just random strangers, just people who happened to cross paths with Bhatti 180, but somehow they mattered. Somehow helping them had felt important. Maybe that was enough. Maybe caring did not have to be about one person or one place. Maybe it could be about moments, about choices, about the small acts of protection and kindness that added up over time. The human composed a reply to 067. Thank you for reaching out. Your advice is appreciated. I am finding my way. It is difficult, but I think I understand what you mean about caring. I am learning. 180 out. The next day, Zax the Relentless arrived at Rust Harbor. Bhatti 180 spotted him immediately. The Kryn was hard to miss. He stood over 2 meters tall with rough gray skin and 4 arms. He moved through the docking area with the confidence of someone who knew they were the most dangerous being in the room. The human watched from a distance. Zax was talking to various people, showing them something on a data pad, probably a picture of Bhatti 180, asking questions, gathering information. Most people ignored him or gave useless answers. Nobody on Rust Harbor liked bounty hunters, but eventually someone would talk. Someone always did. Someone would remember seeing a human who matched the description. Someone would point Zax in the right direction. Bhatti 180 had 2 choices. Run again, move to the 3rd safe house, stay ahead of the tracker, or turn and face him. End this hunt before it went any further. The smart choice was obvious. Run. Avoid confrontation. Stay hidden. That was what fugitives did. That was how you survived. But Bhatti 180 was not just a fugitive. The human was a weapon, and weapons did not run from threats. Weapons eliminated them. Besides, Zax would just keep hunting, would keep following, would eventually track the human down, no matter how many times Bhatti 180 moved. Better to end it now. Better to face it on terms the human could control. Bhatti 180 went back to the apartment and prepared, studied Zax's methods, planned an approach. The Kryn was dangerous, but he was not invincible. He had weaknesses. Everyone did. That night, Bhatti 180 went to the bar where Zax was staying. The human walked in openly, did not hide, did not pretend, just walked straight up to the tracker and sat down at his table. Zax looked up in surprise, his 4 arms tensed, ready for combat, but he did not attack. Instead, he smiled. It was not a friendly smile, more like a predator recognizing worthy prey. So, he said, his voice deep and gravelly, the famous Bhatti 180, I have been looking for you. I know, the human replied calmly. I thought I would save you some time. Here I am. Zax studied Bhatti 180 carefully. You are either very brave or very stupid. I have a contract to bring you in, dead or alive, though alive pays better. You think you can convince me to let you go? No, Bhatti 180 said. I think I can convince you that bringing me in would be a mistake. For you, for everyone. The tracker laughed. It was a harsh sound that made other patrons in the bar turn to look. You want to threaten me? I have captured beings more dangerous than you. I have faced down warlords and pirates and monsters. You do not scare me, human. I should, Bhatti 180 said quietly, because I am not like your other targets. I am not trying to escape. I am not trying to survive. I am just trying to protect my people, and I will do anything necessary to accomplish that. Anything, including things that would give you nightmares. Zax's smile faded a bit. He was starting to understand that this was not a normal confrontation. Normal fugitives begged or pleaded or tried to bargain. This human was doing none of those things. This human was making a simple statement of fact. Let me explain something to you, Bhatti 180 continued. You are good at tracking, good at fighting, good at capturing targets. But you are not prepared for what I am. You are not prepared for what I can do. If you try to take me in, I will hurt you. I will hurt you in ways that your species cannot heal from, and then I will continue on my way. You will gain nothing except pain and failure. Big words, Zax growled. Can you back them up? Bhatti 180 leaned forward slightly. I destroyed 73 warships at Kepler 442b. I killed 47,000 soldiers without breaking a sweat. I did it all in under 2 hours. Do you really think you are more dangerous than an entire fleet? The bar had gone very quiet. Everyone was listening now. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. This was the kind of confrontation that became legend on stations like Rust Harbor. Zax was silent for a long moment. The human could see him thinking, calculating, considering odds. He was smart enough to understand that Bhatti 180 was not bluffing. Smart enough to realize that this contract might cost more than it was worth. What do you propose? He asked finally. Walk away, Bhatti 180 said simply. Tell whoever hired you that I cannot be found. Tell them I am too dangerous. Tell them whatever you want. Just leave me alone. In return, I will not kill you tonight. That is a generous offer. You should take it. Zax studied the human for another long moment. Then slowly he stood up. His 4 arms spread in a gesture that might have been respect or maybe just acceptance. You are right, he said. This contract is not worth my life. I am good at my job, but I am not suicidal. I will report that Bhatti 180 is too dangerous to capture with current resources. The empires can send an army if they want you so badly. I am just one hunter. He walked toward the door, then paused and looked back. But human, understand something. Others will come. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but eventually someone will try again. You cannot threaten everyone who hunts you. I know, Bhatti 180 replied, but I can try, and I can hope that eventually people will learn to leave me alone. Zax left. The bar slowly returned to normal. Bhatti 180 sat there for a while longer, thinking about what had just happened. The human had just faced down one of the galaxy's most famous bounty hunters, had done it without violence, without killing, just with words and reputation. Maybe 067 was right. Maybe there was more to being a Bhatti unit than just fighting. Maybe there were other ways to solve problems, other ways to protect what mattered. The human stood up and walked out of the bar. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, new choices. But tonight, Bhatti 180 had won without firing a shot. That felt like progress. That felt like maybe, just maybe, there was hope for something beyond being just a weapon. 6 months after leaving Earth, Bhatti 180 received the signal. It came through the emergency channel that Williams had set up. The code was unmistakable. Phoenix rising. Earth needed the human. Something had happened. Something serious enough that Williams was calling Bhatti 180 back despite all the political complications, despite the risk, despite everything. The message was short and encrypted. Phoenix rising, multiple human colonies under attack by unknown force. Heavy casualties, conventional forces failing, need Bhatti response immediately. Rally point, Nexus Station, coordinates attached. Time critical, Williams. Bhatti 180 read the message 3 times. Unknown force. That was concerning. Earth's military could handle most threats. The fact that they were failing meant this was something new, something dangerous, something that required a Bhatti unit. The human had been living quietly on a small agricultural world called Green Haven. It was peaceful there, beautiful. The people were kind. Bhatti 180 had been helping with the harvest, had been learning what it felt like to grow things instead of destroy them, had been trying to understand what normal life was like. But that life was over now. Earth was calling. People needed protecting. Bhatti 180 was a weapon again. The human packed quickly. There was not much to pack, just some clothes, some supplies, the data chip Williams had given. Everything else could be left behind. Material things did not matter. Only the mission mattered. The other farmers gathered to say goodbye. They knew Bhatti 180 as Sam, a quiet human who worked hard and never caused trouble. They did not know the truth. They did not need to know. "Where are you going, Sam?" asked an elderly farmer named Tomas. He had become something like a friend over the past months. They had shared meals together, had talked about crops and weather and simple things. "There is an emergency back home," Bhatti 180 replied. "My family needs me. I have to go." Tomas nodded slowly. He looked sad but understanding. "Will you come back?" The human paused. That was a good question. Would there be a coming back? Would Bhatti 180 survive whatever was waiting at Nexus Station? Would there be a quiet life to return to when it was over? "I do not know," Bhatti 180 said honestly. "I hope so, but I cannot promise." Tomas put a hand on the human's shoulder. "Be safe, Sam. Whatever you are going back to, whatever trouble your family is facing, be careful. The galaxy needs good people like you." Good people. Bhatti 180 was not sure about that, but the human smiled anyway. "Thank you, Tomas. Take care of the farm. Take care of everyone here." The trip to Nexus Station took 3 days. Bhatti 180 pushed the ship as hard as it could go. During the journey, the human monitored news feeds, tried to understand what was happening, what this unknown threat was. The reports were confusing and contradictory. Several human colonies had gone silent. Communication had been lost. When rescue ships arrived, they found devastation. Entire cities destroyed, millions dead, but no one knew who had done it or why. There were no demands, no warnings, no political statements, just sudden, overwhelming violence. Colonies that had been peaceful and thriving one day were smoking ruins the next. Earth's military had sent fleets to investigate and protect other colonies. Those fleets had encountered the enemy and been badly damaged, but nobody could agree on what the enemy actually was. Some reports said they were machines. Others said they were biological. Some claimed they were energy beings. The descriptions did not match. It was like each witness was seeing something different. That was very strange. That was very worrying. Bhatti 180 arrived at Nexus Station to find chaos. The military hub was overflowing with ships. Wounded soldiers were being evacuated. Supplies were being rushed to the front lines. Officers were shouting orders. Everyone looked tired and scared. The human docked and made way to the command center. Security recognized the identity codes immediately. They did not ask questions. They just pointed the human to conference room 7. The same room where Williams had last spoken to Bhatti 180 6 months ago. Williams was there. She looked older, more tired, like she had not slept in weeks. There were dark circles under her eyes, new gray in her hair. The war was taking a toll. "You came," she said when Bhatti 180 entered. There was relief in her voice. "You called," the human replied simply. "What is the situation?" Williams pulled up holographic displays. They showed star maps with red markers indicating attack colonies. There were 12 of them, 12 human worlds that had been hit in the past 2 weeks. "We are calling them phantoms," Williams explained, "because we cannot figure out what they are. They appear without warning. They attack with incredible force. Then they disappear before we can respond effectively. We have lost over 20 million civilians. 5 military fleets have been severely damaged. We are losing this war, and we do not even know who we are fighting. Bhatti 180 studied the maps, looked for patterns. The attacked colonies formed a rough arc through space. They were not random targets. There was logic to the selection. But what was it? What do we know about their tactics? The human asked. Not much, Williams admitted. They use some kind of energy weapons we have never seen before. They can disable our shields. They can pierce our armor. Ships that get too close just stop working. Crews report seeing different things. Some see mechanical constructs. Others see organic creatures. A few report humanoid figures made of light. We think they might be using psychological warfare, making us see our own fears. Or they are something we do not have a frame of reference for, Bhatti 180 suggested. Something so alien that our minds cannot properly process what we are seeing. Williams nodded. That is the other theory. Whatever they are beyond our current ability to fight effectively. That is why I called you. We need someone who can adapt, who can think in ways our normal forces cannot. We need a Bhatti unit. What about the others? Bhatti 180 asked. Are you activating more of us? 3 other Bhatti units are already deployed. Units 042, 123, and 156. They are leading defensive operations on threatened colonies, but we need someone on offense. We need someone to track these phantoms back to their source and end this threat. That is your mission. Bhatti 180 looked at the display again. 12 colonies attacked, 20 million dead, 5 fleets damaged. This was worse than Kepler 442b, much worse. This was the kind of threat that could break humanity if it was not stopped soon. I will need resources, the human said. A ship with military-grade sensors, weapons that can adapt to unknown threats, access to all intelligence data, and complete operational freedom. Done, Williams agreed immediately. I am giving you access to the Shadow Blade. It is one of our newest stealth cruisers. Fast, well-armed, advanced sensors. Crew of 20 specialists. They are the best we have. I work alone, Bhatti 180 said. Not this time. This threat is too big. You need support. The crew has been briefed. They know who you are. They know what you are. They have volunteered to serve with you. Give them a chance. The human considered that. Working with a crew would be different, would be complicated. Bhatti 180 had always operated solo, had always been the only variable that needed to be managed. But Williams was right. This threat was beyond what one person could handle alone. Fine, Bhatti 180 said, but they follow my orders without question. If I tell them to do something, they do it. No debates, no hesitation. Lives will depend on split-second decisions. They understand. They are soldiers. They know how to follow orders. Williams led Bhatti 180 through the station to the docking bay where the Shadow Blade was waiting. The ship was impressive, sleek and dark, covered in sensor-absorbing materials. It looked like a predator, fast and deadly. The crew was assembled in the cargo bay, 20 people from various Earth nations, men and women, young and old, all volunteers, all ready to face the unknown. They stood at attention when Bhatti 180 entered. At ease, the human said. I am Bhatti 180. You have volunteered to crew this ship on a dangerous mission. I want to be clear about what that means. We are hunting something we do not understand, something that has destroyed 12 colonies and killed 20 million people. There is a good chance we will not come back from this. There is a good chance all of us will die. If anyone wants to back out, now is the time. No shame, no judgment. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They all just stood there looking determined. A woman stepped forward. She wore the insignia of a commander. Commander Lisa Park, sir. I speak for the crew. We are not backing out. We signed up to protect humanity. That is what we are going to do, whatever it takes. Bhatti 180 looked at her, saw the resolve in her eyes, saw the same determination the human had seen in mirrors before all the augmentations, before becoming a weapon. This was a real soldier. These were all real soldiers. Good, Bhatti 180 said. Then let us prepare. Commander Park, get your crew to their stations. We launch in 1 hour. I need that time to review all available intelligence on the Phantoms. We need to know everything we can before we go hunting. The crew scattered to their posts. Within minutes, the Shadow Blade was humming with activity. Engineers checking systems, pilots running diagnostics, weapons officers loading armaments, everyone working with efficient purpose. Bhatti 180 went to the captain's quarters that had been prepared. It was small but functional. There was a terminal connected to Earth's military networks. The humans sat down and started reading through reports, battle logs, survivor testimonies, sensor data, everything that had been gathered about the Phantoms. The pattern became clearer the more Bhatti 180 read. The Phantoms were not random attackers. They were testing. Each colony they hit, they used different tactics, different approaches. They were learning, studying humanity's responses, preparing for something bigger. The 12 colonies were the experiments. The real attack was still coming. Bhatti 180 needed to find them before that happened, needed to discover where they came from and what they wanted, needed to stop them before 20 million dead became 200 million, or 2 billion. 1 hour later, the Shadow Blade launched from Nexus Station. The crew was ready. The ship was ready. Bhatti 180 was ready. Commander Park's voice came through the intercom. All systems green, sir. We are at your command. Where are we going? Bhatti 180 pulled up the star map, marked the 12 attack colonies, drew lines between them. The pattern formed an arc. The arc pointed to a region of space that was largely unexplored, a dead zone where few ships traveled, where sensors did not work well, where something could hide. Set course for the void sector, the human said. Maximum speed. That is where they are hiding. That is where we will find answers. The void sector? Park sounded uncertain. Sir, that region is dangerous. Navigation is nearly impossible. Ships that go in there often do not come out. I know, Bhatti 180 replied. That is exactly why they chose it. They think we will not follow. They are wrong. We are going in, and we are going to end this threat. The Shadow Blade turned and accelerated. Behind them, Nexus Station grew smaller. Ahead was darkness and unknown dangers. But Bhatti 180 felt something the human had not felt in months. Purpose. Clear, undeniable purpose. This was what the human was made for. Not hiding, not pretending to be normal, but facing threats that nobody else could face. Protecting people who could not protect themselves. Being the weapon that humanity needed. The Phantoms had made a mistake. They had hurt humans. They had killed civilians. They had started a war they could not win, because now they had the attention of a Bhatti unit, and Bhatti units never stopped until the mission was complete. Hold on, everyone, Bhatti 180 said to the crew. We are going to war. The Shadow Blade disappeared into faster-than-light travel, heading toward the void sector, heading toward answers, heading toward a confrontation that would determine whether humanity survived or fell to an enemy they could not even properly see. Bhatti 180 sat in the captain's chair and prepared for whatever came next. The human had been many things: a person, a soldier, a weapon, a fugitive, a helper, and now, once again, a protector. The only thing that mattered, the only thing that had ever truly mattered. Whatever the Phantoms were, they were about to learn what happened when you threatened humanity. They were about to face Bhatti 180. And when Bhatti 180 spoke, even alien generals stopped breathing in fear. The void sector earned its name. Space here was different, darker somehow, even though the void of space was always dark. Sensors struggled to penetrate the strange interference that filled the region. Navigation systems glitched constantly. Even the stars looked wrong, their light twisted by unknown forces. The Shadow Blade moved slowly through this strange space. Commander Park kept the crew on high alert. Everyone was tense. Everyone knew they were in enemy territory. The phantoms could be anywhere, could attack at any moment. Bhatti 180 stood on the bridge, watching the sensor displays. The human's augmented mind processed the confusing data streams faster than any computer, looking for patterns in the chaos, looking for signs of the enemy. "Sir," called out the sensor officer, a young man named Chen, "I am picking up something strange. Dead ahead, distance approximately 50,000 kilometers. It is big, really big." "What is it?" Park asked. "I do not know, ma'am. The readings do not make sense. It is reading as solid matter, but also as energy, and also as nothing at all, like it is all three states at the same time." Bhatti 180 moved to Chen's station, looked at the data. The officer was right. The readings were impossible. Whatever was out there should not exist according to known physics. "That is them," the human said quietly. "That is the phantoms, or at least their base, their home." "Should we approach?" Park asked. Bhatti 180 thought about that. Every instinct said to be careful, to scout first, to gather information before engaging, but they did not have time for caution. More colonies might be under attack right now. More people might be dying while the human hesitated. "Yes," Bhatti 180 decided, "but slowly. Battle stations, shields at maximum, weapons ready. If they attack, I want us prepared to respond immediately." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. The shadow blade crept forward. The strange readings grew stronger. And then suddenly they could see it. The structure was massive, bigger than any ship Bhatti 180 had ever seen, bigger than any station. It was like a small moon made of crystal and metal and light. It floated in the void, pulsing with energy that made reality shimmer around it. "What is that?" Park whispered. There was awe in her voice, in fear. "I think," Bhatti 180 said slowly, "that is a ship, or a station, or maybe a weapon. I am not sure it matters. What matters is that something built it, something with technology far beyond ours." The structure had no obvious weapons, no visible engines, no markings or symbols. It just existed, impossible and beautiful and terrifying. "Scanning for life signs," Chen reported. "Getting something. Maybe. The interference is too strong. I cannot tell if there are beings inside or if it is just the structure's energy." Bhatti 180 made a decision. "Open a communication channel. All frequencies. Let them know we are here." "Sir?" Park looked concerned. "Is that wise? If they are hostile—" "They are already hostile. They have killed 20 million of our people. There is no point in sneaking. We are here for answers. Let us see if they will talk." The communications officer activated the channel. Bhatti 180 stepped forward and spoke clearly. "Unknown beings, this is Bhatti 180 of Earth. We know you have attacked our colonies. We know you have killed our people. We are here for answers. Why did you attack us? What do you want?" Silence. The structure pulsed with light but gave no response. Bhatti 180 waited. Patience was a weapon too, sometimes the most effective weapon. After 5 minutes, something changed. The structure's surface rippled. A portion of it opened like a mouth. And then a voice came through every speaker on the shadow blade. But it was not a sound that made sense. It was like hearing colors, like tasting time. The human mind struggled to process it until the augmentations kicked in and translated it into something understandable. "Human," the voice said. It sounded old, ancient beyond measure. "You seek answers. We will provide them. But first, you must understand. You must truly understand what you are facing. Come inside. Come alone. We will show you." "It is a trap," Park said immediately. "Sir, you cannot trust them. They have killed millions. They will kill you too." Bhatti 180 considered that. It probably was a trap, but it was also an opportunity, a chance to learn, a chance to understand the enemy. and understanding was the first step to victory. "I am going," the human said. "That is my decision. Commander Park, you have command of the ship. If I do not return within 6 hours, leave the void sector. Report everything to General Williams. She will know what to do next." "Sir, I cannot let you," Park started to protest. Bhatti 180 turned to look at her. "Yes, you can. You are a soldier. You follow orders. I am ordering you to stay here and wait. If I do not return, you make sure Earth knows what we found. That is your mission now." Park struggled with that, but finally she nodded. "6 hours, then we leave. I will make sure Earth knows." Bhatti 180 took a small shuttle down to the structure. It was a short trip. As the shuttle approached, the opening grew larger. The human flew inside and found a docking platform that should not exist. Solid matter that formed out of nothing. Or maybe it had always been there, and the human's senses just could not perceive it properly. The shuttle landed. Bhatti 180 stepped out wearing a standard environment suit. The atmosphere might not be breathable. The gravity might be wrong. But when the human emerged, everything felt normal. Earth standard gravity, oxygen-rich air, comfortable temperature. They had prepared this place for a human visitor. The platform led to a corridor. The walls were made of that same impossible material. Crystal and metal and light all merged together. Bhatti 180 walked forward. The augmented senses were on high alert, looking for threats, looking for traps. But there was nothing. Just empty corridor and strange beauty. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. It was like standing inside a cathedral made of stars. Impossible geometries stretched in all directions. And in the center of it all, there was a being. It was hard to describe. It looked different every time Bhatti 180 blinked. Sometimes it was mechanical, sometimes organic, sometimes pure energy. The human understood now why the reports had been so confused. The phantoms were all of these things, or none of them. They existed in states that human minds could not properly process. "Welcome, Bhatti 180, the being said in that color, taste, sound voice. "We are the architects. We have been watching humanity for a very long time." "Why did you attack our colonies?" Bhatti 180 demanded. No point in being diplomatic now. The human wanted answers. "To test you," the architect replied simply. "To see if you were ready. To see if you had evolved enough." "Ready for what? Evolved enough for what?" The being shifted. Now it looked almost human, a figure made of light in roughly human shape. "The galaxy is not what you think it is, human. You see planets and stars in empty space. But there are layers, dimensions, realities stacked upon each other like sheets of paper. Most species never perceive them. They live and die in their single reality, never knowing what else exists." The architect gestured, and the chamber changed. Bhatti 180 could see something. Layers of existence, universes beyond the normal universe, realities where the laws of physics were different, where life took forms that made no sense. "We architects exist across all layers," the being continued. "We observe, we guide, we test species to see if they can ascend, to see if they can join us in the higher dimensions. And if they cannot," Bhatti 180 asked, though the human already knew the answer. "Then they remain limited, stuck in their single reality. Eventually, they expand too far. Eventually, they encounter something from the higher dimensions that they cannot understand or fight. Eventually, they die." "So you attacked us to test if we could ascend? You killed 20 million people as a test?" "Yes," the architect said without emotion. "We needed to see how humanity responds to the impossible, to threats that make no logical sense. Most species panic. They break. They fail the test. But humans adapt. Humans persist. Humans send weapons like you to face what they cannot understand." Bhatti 180 felt anger building. Cold, controlled anger. "You did not need to kill millions to test us. You could have just asked. You could have communicated. No, the architect disagreed. Words are meaningless. Actions reveal truth. We needed to see you under pressure, needed to see if you would give up or keep fighting. You kept fighting. You are here now, seeking answers. That shows potential. That shows humanity might be ready. Ready for what? The human repeated. The architect gestured again. The chamber changed. Bhatti 180 could see Earth, but not just Earth. Multiple versions of Earth. Versions in different dimensions. Some were thriving, others were dead, others never existed at all. There is a convergence coming, the architect explained. All the dimensions will align. All the realities will touch. When that happens, species that can perceive and navigate multiple dimensions will survive. Species that cannot will be destroyed, erased from existence across all realities simultaneously. When will this happen? Approximately 50 of your years. That is why we test species now, to give them time to prepare if they pass, to give them a chance to ascend before it is too late. Bhatti 180 processed this information. 50 years, that was not much time, but it was something. If this was true, if this convergence was real, then humanity needed to prepare, needed to learn, needed to evolve. Why tell me this? The human asked. Why not tell Earth's leaders? Why not communicate through proper channels? Because you are already partially ascended, the architect said. Your augmentations do not just make you stronger or faster. They changed how you perceive reality. You can see patterns others miss. You can think in ways others cannot. You are closer to us than you are to normal humans. You can understand what we are saying. Your leaders would think it was madness. The being was right. Bhatti 180 could understand, could perceive the truth in what was being said. The augmentations had changed the human in ways that went beyond physical enhancement, had opened doors in the mind that stayed closed for normal people. What do you want from me? Bhatti 180 asked. Take this knowledge back to Earth, the architect replied. Tell them what is coming. Tell them they have 50 years to prepare. Tell them to study dimensions, to explore beyond normal space, to evolve their understanding of reality. If they succeed, humanity will survive the convergence. If they fail, humanity will cease to exist. And the attacks? Will you stop killing our people? The test is complete. We will not attack again, but others will. There are beings in the higher dimensions who do not want more species to ascend, who see the convergence as a way to eliminate competition. They will attack humanity in the coming years. They will try to prevent your evolution. You must be ready. Bhatti 180 felt overwhelmed. This was bigger than the human had imagined. Bigger than protecting colonies. Bigger than winning battles. This was about the survival of the entire species across all possible realities. How do we prepare? The human asked. What do we need to do? The architect held out a hand. In its palm appeared a small crystal. It glowed with inner light. This contains information, knowledge that will help humanity begin their ascension. Give it to your scientists. Let them study it. Let them learn. But know this, the path will be difficult. Many will not survive the transition. Augmentation helps, but it is not enough by itself. Humanity must evolve as a whole, must learn to perceive reality in new ways, must become something more than what you are. Bhatti 180 took the crystal. It felt warm, alive, like holding a piece of concentrated existence. Why help us? The human asked. If you are testing species, why give us this advantage? Because we were once like you, the architect replied. Millions of years ago, we were a single-dimension species facing the convergence. Another group of architects tested us, helped us, gave us a chance. We passed. We ascended. Now we do the same for others. It is our purpose, our mission. Just as your purpose is to protect humanity, ours is to help species ascend. The being began to fade. Go now, Return to your ship. Return to Earth. Time is short. You have 50 years. Use them wisely." "Wait," Bhatti 180 called out. "Will we see you again?" "Perhaps," the architect said, its voice growing distant. "If humanity succeeds, if you ascend, then we will meet as equals, as fellow travelers in the higher dimensions. We hope to see you there." The being disappeared completely. The chamber returned to normal, just walls and floor and ceiling made of impossible materials. Bhatti 180 stood alone, holding a crystal that might save humanity or might be an elaborate lie. But the human's instincts said it was true. The augmented mind, the enhanced perception, all of it said the architect had been telling the truth. The convergence was real, the threat was real, and humanity had only 50 years to prepare. Bhatti 180 ran back to the shuttle, flew back to the Shadow Blade. Park and the crew were relieved to see the human return safely. "What happened?" Park asked. "What did they say?" "Set course for Earth," Bhatti 180 ordered. "Maximum speed. We need to get this information to General Williams immediately. I will explain everything on the way. But right now, just trust me. We need to go. Now." The Shadow Blade turned and accelerated out of the void sector. Behind them, the massive structure pulsed with light one final time. Then it disappeared, fading out of normal space, returning to whatever higher dimension it called home. Bhatti 180 looked at the crystal in the human's hand. So small, so fragile looking, but containing the key to humanity's survival. The human would protect it, would get it to Earth safely, would make sure humanity had a chance. Because that was what Bhatti units did. They protected. They persevered. They made sure humanity survived, no matter what impossible threats emerged from the darkness. The convergence was coming, but humanity would be ready. Bhatti 180 would make sure of that. The meeting with Earth's leaders took place in a secure bunker deep beneath Geneva. Presidents, prime ministers, military commanders, and scientists from every major nation gathered to hear what Bhatti 180 had discovered. General Williams was there too, looking both relieved and worried. Bhatti 180 stood before them and told the story. Everything. The void sector, the architects, the convergence, the 50-year deadline, the crystal containing knowledge that could save humanity. There was silence when the human finished speaking. Then everyone started talking at once. Some believed it, others thought it was a trick. A few suggested that Bhatti 180 had been compromised somehow, that the phantoms had done something to the human's mind. "This is insane," said President Martinez of the South American Alliance. "Dimensions? Convergence? This sounds like science fiction. How do we know any of it is real?" Bhatti 180 placed the crystal on the table. "This is real. Have your scientists study it. They will find technology and knowledge far beyond our current understanding. That will be proof enough." "And what if it is a weapon?" asked Premier Chen of the Asian Federation. "What if we study this thing and it destroys us? What if the entire story is designed to make us lower our guard?" "Then we are no worse off than we are now," Williams said firmly. "If the architects wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. They destroyed 12 colonies easily. If they wanted Earth gone, we would be gone. This is an opportunity, maybe our only opportunity." The debate continued for hours, but eventually enough leaders agreed to at least study the crystal, to see what it contained, to give humanity a chance, even if that chance seemed impossible. The crystal was given to Earth's top scientists. They worked in secure laboratories, studying the impossible object with every tool available. And what they found changed everything. The crystal contained detailed information about dimensional physics, mathematical formulas that had never been conceived, engineering specifications for technologies that should not work, but somehow did, methods for enhancing human perception beyond normal limits, ways to teach people to see and interact with higher dimensions. It was all real, every bit of it. The architects had given humanity a roadmap to ascension, to survival. But the roadmap was difficult. The technologies required resources that Earth barely had. The mental training required dedication and discipline that most people lacked. And even with all the information, scientists estimated it would take decades to implement fully. They had 50 years. It would be close, very close. Earth's governments made a decision. They would pursue this path, would dedicate enormous resources to the Ascension project, would begin training people, would build the technologies, would do everything possible to prepare for the convergence. And they would do it in secret. The general population would not be told. Not yet. Not until humanity had made enough progress that people could see real results. Telling everyone now would cause panic, chaos, social collapse. Better to work quietly and reveal the truth when there was hope to offer alongside the fear. But T-180 was offered a position as advisor to the project. The humans' enhanced perception would be valuable. The humans' experience with the architects would provide insight. Williams personally asked Bhatti 180 to stay, to help, to be part of saving humanity, but the human declined. "I am a weapon," Bhatti 180 told Williams in a private meeting. "I protect, I fight, I eliminate threats. I am not a scientist or a teacher or a politician. I am not what you need for this project. You need brilliant minds working together. You need people who can inspire others. I would just be in the way." "What will you do?" Williams asked. "Where will you go?" Bhatti 180 thought about that. The human had been running for months, hiding, surviving. It had been exhausting, but also illuminating. The time away from constant combat had shown the humans something important, that there was value in quiet moments, in helping individuals, in small acts of kindness. "I am going back to Greenhaven," the human said. "Back to the farm, back to the people who knew me as Sam. I am going to help with harvests and fix equipment and live quietly. I am going to try to be a person instead of a weapon for a while. And if Earth needs you again, if there is another crisis, then I will come. You know I will always come when called. But until then, let me have some peace. Let me remember what it feels like to be human before the convergence makes us all into something else." William smiled sadly. "You deserve that. You have earned it. Go, be Sam the farmer, but know that you will always have a place here, that humanity will always be grateful for what you have done." The two of them shook hands, a simple gesture between soldiers, between people who understood sacrifice and duty and the cost of protecting others. Bhatti 180 left Earth quietly. No ceremonies, no medals, no recognition. Just a weapon returning to storage until it was needed again. That was fine. That was how the human preferred it. The trip back to Greenhaven took a week. Bhatti 180 used the time to think about everything that had happened. The battle at Kepler 442b felt like years ago instead of months. So much had changed. The human had changed. When the ship landed at Greenhaven, Tomas was there waiting. The old farmer had a huge smile on his face. "Sam, you came back. We were worried. We thought maybe something bad happened to your family." "They are okay," Bhatti 180 said, returning the smile. "The situation was resolved. I can stay now, if you still need help with the farm." "Need help? Sam, we always need help. Come on. There is work to do. The harvest season is starting soon. And wait until you see the new irrigation system we installed. You are going to love it." And just like that, Bhatti 180 was Sam again. Just another worker on a peaceful agricultural world. Planting seeds, repairing equipment, sharing meals, living a simple life. It was not the life the human had been designed for, but it was a good life, maybe even a better life. The weeks turned into months. Sam worked hard and made friends, attended community gatherings, helped neighbors, slowly became part of the fabric of Greenhaven society. People stopped seeing a strange human from off-world. They just saw Sam, dependable Sam, kind Sam, Sam who could fix anything and never complained about hard work. One evening, sitting on Tomas's porch and watching the sunset, The old farmer asked a question. Sam, you never talk about your past, about where you came from before you got here. Do you mind if I ask? What did you do before farming? Bhatti 180 considered lying, considered maintaining the cover story, but Tomas had become a friend, a real friend, and friends deserve some truth, even if not the whole truth. I was a soldier, Sam said quietly. I fought in conflicts across the galaxy. I protected people who could not protect themselves. I did things I am not proud of, killed enemies, made hard choices. Eventually I got tired of fighting, tired of death. So I left, came here looking for peace. Tomas nodded slowly. I thought it might be something like that. You move like a soldier, think like one. But you are trying to be something else now, trying to leave that life behind. Is it working? Sam asked. Am I succeeding? The old farmer smiled. Some days yes, some days no. But you are trying. That is what matters. We all have pasts, Sam. We all did things we wish we could change. What matters is who we choose to be now, today. And today, you are a good person, a good friend. That is enough. Sam felt something strange. It took a moment to identify the feeling. It was contentment. Simple, uncomplicated contentment. No missions, no threats, no calculations about danger and response. Just sitting on a porch with a friend, watching a beautiful sunset on a peaceful world. Maybe this was what Bhatti 067 had meant about finding something to care about. Maybe it was not about one big purpose. Maybe it was about small moments. About choosing to be kind when you could be cruel. About building instead of destroying. About living instead of just surviving. Far away, Earth scientists continued working on the Ascension project. The other Bhatti units continued their missions. Wars continued. Crises emerged and were resolved. The galaxy kept turning, full of danger and conflict and impossible challenges. But on Greenhaven, there was just a sunset. Just two friends. Just peace. And for now, that was enough. Years passed. Sam remained on Greenhaven, helping the community thrive. When travelers came through, they sometimes brought news from the wider galaxy. Earth was making progress on the dimensional research. The Ascension project was ahead of schedule. Other species had begun to notice humanity's rapid technological advancement and were asking questions. Sam listened to these reports but did not worry. Earth had brilliant people working on the problem. They would find a way. They always did. And if they ever needed a Bhatti unit again, if the threat was too great for normal forces, Sam would set down the farming tools and become Bhatti 180 once more. But until that day came, there were crops to plant, equipment to repair, neighbors to help, a life to live. One morning, 15 years after returning to Greenhaven, Sam received a message on the old military communicator that the human kept hidden. It was from Bhatti 067, the unit who had reached out months after Sam went rogue. 180, this is 067. I heard you found a place to settle. I am happy for you. I have been thinking about our purpose, about what we are meant to do. I think maybe we had it wrong. Maybe we are not just weapons. Maybe we are examples. Examples of what humanity can become. Strong but kind. Deadly but compassionate. Willing to fight but preferring peace. The convergence is coming. Humanity needs to evolve. Maybe we are showing them how. Stay safe. Stay human. 067 out. Sam read the message several times, then deleted it and returned to work. There were fields to tend, but 067's words stayed in the human's mind. Examples of what humanity could become. That was an interesting way to think about it. Maybe the Bhatti units were not just weapons after all. Maybe they were something more, something better. That evening, Sam helped Tomas repair a broken tractor. They worked in comfortable silence, the way friends who had known each other for years could. When they finished, Tomas wiped his hands and smiled. You know, Sam, when you first got here, I thought you would not last a month. Thought you would get bored with farm work and leave. But you stayed. You became part of our community. You became family. Thank you for that. Thank you for accepting me, Sam replied, for giving me a place to belong, for helping me remember what it means to be human. Tomas clapped the human on the shoulder. Come on, dinner is waiting. My wife made that stew you like. And afterward, some of the neighbors are coming over. We are going to play cards and tell stories. You should join us. I will, Sam said. I would like that. And so, Bhatti 180, the weapon that made alien generals stop breathing in fear, went to dinner with friends, played cards with neighbors, laughed at jokes and told stories, and lived a simple, peaceful life. The augmentations were still there. The enhanced mind, the combat training, the lethal skills. All of it remained sleeping beneath the surface, ready to emerge if needed. But for now, they were not needed. For now there was just Sam, just a person trying to be good, trying to be human, trying to show by example what humanity could be. And across the galaxy, other Bhatti units watched and learned. They saw that there was life beyond combat, purpose beyond missions, that weapons could choose to put themselves away, that strength was knowing when not to fight. The convergence was still coming. 45 years remained. Humanity was racing against time to ascend, to evolve, to become something capable of surviving across multiple dimensions of reality. But they would make it. Sam was certain of that, because humanity had something special, something that no other species quite understood. They had the ability to adapt, to change, to become something new while still remaining themselves, to be weapons when necessary and farmers when possible, to fight and to build, to destroy and to create. They had Bhatti units, and Bhatti units never failed their missions. Sam's mission now was to live, to be an example, to show what humanity could become, and Sam would succeed at that mission, just as Bhatti 180 had succeeded at all the others. Because when Bhatti 180 spoke, alien generals stopped breathing in fear. But when Sam spoke, friends smiled and neighbors laughed, and communities thrived. Both were important, both were necessary, both were part of being truly human. And in the end, that was what would save humanity from the convergence. Not just weapons and technology in dimensional science, but the simple choice to be kind, to be good, to care about each other and work together and never give up, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. The sun set on Greenhaven. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new work, new opportunities to be better. But tonight there was peace. Tonight there was friendship. Tonight there was hope. And that was more than enough. That was everything. The end.